So my name's Connor, and I'm 24, and I've just graduated from Bournemouth University after studying television production.
Can you tell us your hometown?
Yeah, it's Bournemouth. Actually, no, sorry, I'm originally from Portsmouth, so I studied in Bournemouth, so not far away. I'm from the Myths, so yeah.
Could you remind us of the course you studied at university?
It's television production.
Why did you choose your course?
So I chose my course because I'm very interested in the media, more specifically camera. So I knew that camera was what I wanted to do from the start. And I watched a lot of TV, so studio is my main kind of like my main area of TV that I want to go
Hmm.
into. So I knew that it would be the entertainment route, so the unscripted entertainment, factual television as well. So yeah, I just was interested in studio really.
Was your year a 3 or 4 year course?
It's a 3 year, well actually it's a 4 year course with a placement, but because I didn't do a placement because of COVID, it was 3 years. Yeah.
So, from the 3 years that you were studying, what did you think of your course?
I thought it was really good. It was excellent. It had everything that I was expecting. Like, it had a 4K studio. Um, it was really well organized. It was more practical than theory, which is what you want. As a practical student, television obviously is very, very practical. So you would want to go into a course that offered a lot of practicality. So Bournemouth University offered that practicality aspect of the course. Um, and they just opened up in 2019 they opened up a new studio, a brand new building that offered 4K television. 4K television studios as well as the cameras and brand new equipment. So I knew that Bournemouth was what I wanted to go to, and had a really good uh, reputation in the media as well.
Okay, so if you're talking to a student who's just in sixth form and or college, and they're thinking, what are the best subjects to put me as far ahead as possible? What subjects do you think would be the best for your course to kind of give them a bit of an advantage at sixth form or college level?
I'd say I mean, I'd say try an apprenticeship first. Obviously, it depends what you want to do, but yeah, I'd try apprenticeship route because apprenticeship route was what I wanted to do. For which I was successful getting to the BBC production apprentice. Got to the final stage, but unfortunately, I didn't progress after that final stage. So I knew that university was my plan B. So I'd say to anyone before they go to university just to try an apprenticeship first. Obviously it depends what you want to do, but I know for TV film, they're more interested in like your experience rather than your academic ability. So
Mm.
I definitely say apprenticeship is because I think apprenticeship they offer like it's an equivalent to a bachelor's degree.
Mhm.
So yeah, as like coming from a media student myself, I'd say try an apprenticeship first than um
Trying to do like little subjects to try and give you advantage. Apprenticeship's the best way to kind of get that advantage.
absolutely. I think nowadays like many employers like prefer experience over qualifications now, you know. It's not just a media industry, it's everywhere really. Like, they want you to have 3 years experience in this, which of course you can have a placement year at uni.
Mm.
But I wasn't successful with a placement because of COVID, and also it's very, very competitive anyway to get a placement in the media. But yeah, like pick up a camera, do a video or shoot a wedding video, and show that you are passionate about it because that's what employers are mainly looking for is passionate people.
Okay. If we talk about your university, which was
Mm.
what university did you study at?
Bournemouth University. So yeah.
What were the best and worst things about studying at Bournemouth University? Starting off with the worst.
The worst. Um, I've got to be careful what I say. I must admit, I didn't come prepared to say what my pros and cons. I think the worst is, um, ooh,
If there aren't any things bad, that's good too.
um, I think they don't help you with finding a placement. So you have to do it yourself. Although you do get a placement coordinator, but that's if that's if you are successful in getting placement. And you have to pay like £750 for the whole. Like if you do a year placement, you have to pay a lot of money to do the placement year. So I think that's not just Bournemouth. That's everywhere
Mm.
because you're paying the placement because you're paying to get your own placement coordinator that helps you like along the way, that supports you throughout the year in a placement. So yeah, I think that's bad. That's one of my bad points about not just the course. I think that's just a university thing, to be honest.
Yeah, I understand that. So it's kind of like even though you're going on a placement, you still have to pay for it basically, and there's a lot you're paying for.
Yeah, yeah, and also I know that COVID is over now, but like they didn't give us a lot of studio time as well. So yeah, I'd say that's probably the cons is that they didn't give us a lot of studio, which is what we're paying for.
Mm.
That was due to COVID, but yeah, obviously COVID's over now, so hopefully in the future
It's
people
changed.
yeah, people would know, people would have a lot of studio time. But when I was at uni, um,
Didn't get the same treatment.
yeah, it's like at the end of the first year, it was like you had um, there was start of COVID, the whole second year was online, so we had to make programs over Zoom, and then there was like strikes at the uni, but let's just not go there. Just not go.
So if we talk about the best things then about studying at Bournemouth University,
Best things is the support of the lecturers. Like they are very supportive, and they are obviously they worked in that field, so you know they will help you with anything, obviously, and they're quick responses as well. So if you email them with the question, that you will email like on the same day, as long as it's obviously when they're working, but they're very quickly in helping you. Um, and yeah, so they are serious about your education, um, mainly because you're paying for it. But that's they are very, very supportive on helping you out.
so if we now go into living, where did you live in your first year?
I lived in halls, yeah, I lived in halls, which was very fun, very community centered. Yeah,
Where did you live? What hall did you live in your first year?
Bailey Point.
And what
So,
was your opinion?
oh, it's the it's run by student housing company, so it's very expensive. The student housing company's halls is very, very expensive anyway. And like the staff that worked there, I was there over the summer because of the pandemic, everyone went home. So I decided to stay in halls because I didn't have a bedroom going back home. So I was like, I'll just stay in halls, right? And I'm paying for it, so why not just stay? And then the staff there were very supportive to me. Like they made sure that I was well, as in like mentally well. So they
Mm.
kept checking on me. I wasn't the only one there. There were many people there, but I was the only one in my flat. And they just like talk to me and put on some social events that for the people who are still in there. So yeah, Bailey Point. Obviously, I can't speak for any other halls, but student housing company for Bailey Point was very good. Staff was very good.
And what about, let's say, where did you live in your second year?
I lived in housing, so normally in your first year you live in halls, and then in the second and third year you live in housing. Although obviously every university is different, but I know that for Bournemouth is that in your first year you live in halls of residence, and then second year, uh, about 90% of the time you will be living in housing. In your third year, you do have an option to live back in halls, but it'd be in a studio rather than a flat. Um, yeah, so it's still very expensive. Studio is very expensive in halls.
And what
Yeah.
was it like going from living at Bailey Point halls of residence to living in a house? as a normal rent and bills?
Yeah, like everything's all included. Halls and like all the bills are included in halls and in housing, but the only major difference is the washing. So if you want to do like let's say if you want to do laundry, you don't have to pay for it. You just like in a house, you just throw all your washing in the washing machine, whereas in halls you have to pay for it. It's a little bit like when you go to a laundrette, you pay to wash your clothes. In halls it's like that. So yeah, that's the only major difference. And also you've got a back garden, which is good. um yeah, and yeah, yeah.
All right. So if we go like to the Bournemouth area, what was it like living there as a student? So like the nightlife, the shops, the restaurants, just things to do in general. What was that like?
Um, yeah, like the nightlife in Bournemouth is very good. Like there's this whole road called Old Christchurch Road, which is full of nightclubs. Well, not full of it, but there's like there's full of takeaways, there's nightclubs. There's a famous nightclub in Bournemouth called Cameo, and sometimes you get famous guests that come in. So Cameo had Mark Lebet from The Chase come in. Don't know why. Just come in. He just like raved in Cameo for some reason. I don't know why. But yeah, Cameo is very good. It's only been there a few times, but yeah, it's very student centered.
And like the shops. So if you want to do some shopping and maybe you're hungry,
Yeah,
what was
yeah,
that like?
yeah. There's actually so in your first year, you will most likely be in halls of residence, as I said earlier. So there's an Asda conveniently like a 2-minute walk away. So it's just literally over the road. So that has a McDonald's yeah as well. So yeah.
And finally, what kind of like things to do there in the area, other than obviously if you're not maybe into nightclubbing, is there anything else as a student they could do in Bournemouth?
So the beach. So a beach is always a main is a USP in Bournemouth. When people see Bournemouth, like Bournemouth University, they always say the beach. But obviously don't like you want to focus, you want to make a deciding on your course if it's right for you, not just because it has a beach, I'll go to sunny Bournemouth, although that does help you like stay mentally well and has a lot of things to do in Bournemouth, like the beach is good. The whole of Dorset actually, like I'm not from Dorset, I'm from Hampshire, so Dorset have a lot of things, good things to talk about. Like you have Swanage, you have Weymouth, you have the number 50 bus that takes you directly from Bournemouth to Weymouth, only for £5 there and back, and that's for a student, and that includes the ferry as well. So yeah, so there's a lot of privileges in being a student in Dorset. You get to travel everywhere.
What general advice would you give to students about to start university?
Advice. I'd say go to the Freshers' Fair and join as many societies as you can in your first year. So in your second and third year, your degree counts. In your first year, that doesn't count towards your overall grade. But in your second and third year, your second year counts 40%. And no, sorry, second year is 30%. And no, sorry, let's say the facts right. Second year is 40% and third year is 70%. That counts towards your overall mark. In your first year, it doesn't. That doesn't mean to say you don't try hard. But yeah, that's why I say join as many clubs and
You have the
societies.
time.
Yeah, you have a lot more time in your first year to do that, rather than the second or third year. You don't really have much time because obviously
Okay.
the third year is more important.
What advice would you give to students wanting to study at Bournemouth University?
What advice would I give to students coming?
Wanting to study at Bournemouth University.
Well, I'd say, well, I would repeat, so
Same
sorry,
thing.
societies, but like befriend everyone. Like I know for my course, everyone's in the same boat in their first year, but networking and being friends with everyone is important. Obviously, people who's watching this will not do TV or film, but yeah, it's be friendly to everyone, because like everyone is, you know, moving away from home, and it's maybe their first time away from their family. So yeah, just be friendly to everyone, and like you're all adults now, you know, respect people, you know.
And finally, what advice would you give to students wanting to study your course at university?
I'd say make sure you're passionate about what you want to do, because obviously it's very practical and you'd be working in teams a lot of the time. So it's very teamwork centered. So even if you're not good in a team, that's what they teach you anyway. Like they teach you how to be a good communicator, they teach you how to be a good team worker and stuff like that. Ready for the year 2 and 3, which is you'll be more graded on what you do. So it's not about what you make, it's about your input in the group. So you're basically what you make, it could be total rubbish or whatever, but you graded on your input. And yeah, it's not how good the film is, it's about how good you are at teamwork, because that's what they assess. Yeah.
Okay. So you previously talked about wanting to do an apprenticeship and unfortunately not being successful, but then going to university. But you still made the choice to go to university instead of going right into work and or trying another apprenticeship. What path do you to make this choice?
Because I know that like being like TV industry is very competitive. It's who you know, not what you know. So I knew that you know, going to university may be good plan B, because you get to meet similar people who's, you know, interested in TV. So I'm like, okay, you know, maybe in the future that person could offer me something, or I could offer them something. So yeah, university is a good. It's not. I'm not saying it's bad. It is good, because it teaches you independence. It teaches you to be a better person and how to cook for yourself, and you know, yeah, it teaches you independence, definitely. Yeah.
Hey, can you tell us what it was like being an ambassador at Bournemouth University?
Yeah, so being a student ambassador, it feels like I'm talking about student life, because this is exactly what I talk about when I'm talking to students who come to university, like on an open day. Is that I talk to them about the beach, talk about the nightlife. So what's it like to be a student ambassador? Yeah, it's a great little job to be to do alongside your course, because you're working for the university. So you are representing the brand. So your job is to bring students to that university. Yeah, so they do adapt to your timetable, which is good. And there's plenty of other jobs available as well. So it's not just student ambassador. There's you can work in the kitchen at Dylan's Bar and Kitchen. So that's a student restaurant slash bar. So that's a very good place to be. If you're not interested in clubbing, you can go to Dylan's Bar and Kitchen.
What would you say is the highlight and the lowest part that you were as a student ambassador experienced?
Talking too much, because like because Bournemouth University is quite a big campus. I have a lot of people who like say that to me, is that this is like one of the biggest campuses that they've been to so far. So going around and taking like 30 people around with me, and you know, shouting over people, and when people don't ask you questions, you know, yeah. So that's probably talking over and over again is my like thing that I hate. But I'm a people person, you know, so it's fine.
And the highest part you've had of being an ambassador?
Yeah, like I think like sharing about my experiences at uni. So like obviously before I went to uni, I wanted to hear from the viewpoint of a student at that university. So now I'm that student ambassador. It made me feel good that I am part of someone's future, you know. So yeah, you do get people who ask you a lot of questions, mainly the parents, but the students do as well sometimes. Yeah, so when they when they ask you questions, it makes you feel that they are interested about going to uni and they are serious about it. Many people who go to unis that they only do it because of the experience in the nightclubbing and stuff like that. My opinion on that is don't although it is good experience, but you are investing a lot of money into your future. Yeah.
And just as a quick fire question, just a quick answer. What was life like as a shadow camera assistant?
At the BBC One show, yeah. I was very lucky to have a mentor for a few months, 6 months, that gave me a contact to be a shadow camera operator on the One show, because obviously he knows that I'm interested in camera, so he just he's this guy at the One show. So I contacted him over email, and I was managed to get that. It was only 1 day work experience, but then sorry, I'm going off topic a bit, aren't I?
It's all right.
I always do this. Sorry. Yeah, it was good experience. It wasn't really. I didn't go on any cameras. It was mainly, shadowing. So I was just watching, and I got to meet famous people, which famous people go on the One show all the time. You had Tom Hanks a few weeks ago, Rowan Atkinson a few weeks ago. you got all these famous people go on there. But yeah, I'm still in contact with him, and hopefully he'll offer me back, which he has. He said you can come back. I can come back anytime. So yeah, it's yeah, I'd say it's great being shadow camera operator on One show.
While at university, do you feel like you changed from when you first started to when you finished? So the kind of what students would be curious about is how university changes you in a way. Some students talk about how they grow emotionally, physically. Some students change completely. They go from introverts to extrovert. What was your kind of experience when it came to growth and changing at university?
Definitely being more public, being more people person, because before I came to uni I was very shy. I didn't know anyone, and now that changed because I met people. I made friends, I grew out of my bubble, and I'd say it is totally natural to go to uni without knowing anyone and being shy, but after your first couple of, well, sometimes it'd be a few months, sometimes it'd be a few weeks for people. It depends how quickly you adapt. But normally it takes about a month for you to get to know people. But even if you don't know anyone in your course, there's always a club or a society where you can join. You can make friends. There's different ways where you can make friends at uni. So and yeah, university grew me as a person, in terms of being independent, and kind of living for myself in a way without parents around.
You've now finished university.
Mm-hmm.
What is life like as a graduate?
Well, the graduate blues, as they say, the graduate blues is very worrying about what the future holds, as it's like that for anyone. I know for the media, it's a life of freelancing, so you're not guaranteed a job coming out of uni. Again, it's who you know, not what you know. That's for the media. But if you normally people follow their path of their dads. Their dad or their mum worked at Sky, and you kind of go follow their footsteps. And that's what many people do. But for me, I don't know anyone in my family that works in the media. So for me, it's kind of like, getting a mentor. Yeah. So life is, as a graduate, it's very worrying because you don't know what life is going to bring you now. Now that education's over, you think, oh God, the real world, I've got to work for myself. I've got to earn money now. You just don't know what's around the corner. So, yeah, for me, I don't know. Yeah, it's just, anyway, that's in life's hands,
So you talked about living in Portsmouth, but studying in Bournemouth.
Mm-hmm.
If you had to compare Bournemouth to Portsmouth on a versus, because this is for students who may be deciding whether to go to Bournemouth or whether to go to Portsmouth University, if you had to compare the two towns, what would you say? How would you compare them? Like, what's really good here? What's really bad here? Benefits, doubt. What's your experiences living in Portsmouth and studying in Bournemouth?
Well, Bournemouth is a very big town than Portsmouth. If I've got my knowledge correctly, Bournemouth is a town and Portsmouth is a city. So you'd think, well, city would be bigger, but anyway, yeah. What's the difference? Bournemouth is it's very like multicultural. Where I am, I'm living in Chelmsford area, so Chelmsford is very multicultural. It's very close to the beach, so where you'd be living as a student, you'd be living close to the beach anyway. So obviously Portsmouth is stony beach, Bournemouth is sandy beach, and it stretches for several miles, along towards sandbanks, and then towards Southbourne, which is like other end. So you got a whole bank of sand. Whereas Portsmouth, it's just stony. Depends who you are. If you're that person who hates sand, then probably Portsmouth is right for you. But yeah, I'd say there's a lot more stuff to do in Bournemouth than it's Portsmouth. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And if you had to talk about the kind of you talked about multicultural. When you talk about, like, if we talk about students, who are they? Obviously, they're a little more likely to be other students, but when it comes to like stuff to do, we've talked about Bournemouth, the beach, and the nightclubs. What has Portsmouth got that could probably be somewhat of equivalent and or better?
Yeah, so Portsmouth has got Gunwharf Quays, and it's very historic. It's got a lot of history about it. So you've got HMS Victory, you've got Spinnaker Tower, you've got D-Day Museum, you've got the Portsmouth Pier, which is where Mr. Bean was filmed. It was like, I don't know what episode, but it's many, many decades ago where Mr. Bean was filmed there at the fairground in Portsmouth. So yeah, it's got a lot of history. Yeah, Portsmouth has got a lot. Yeah, so you got the Victorious Festival, which is this weekend, I think, in Portsmouth. Bournemouth, you've got, what festival do you have in Bournemouth? I don't know. I don't think you have a festival in Bournemouth, to be honest. Actually, yes, you do. Actually, sorry. You have the Bournemouth Sevens Festival, which is a rugby. It's a rugby fest. It's a sport festival, and you have like music there, and you have a lot of food stands. Whereas Victorious is a concert kind of thing. So yeah. So there's pros and cons to different. Yeah.
Each side. So at this point, I like to do something what I like to call a free for all. You can say what you like about what you want. You can say something smart. You can say something dumb. Literally, the floor is yours.
What about the university?
Anything you want. Literally, it could be about something, anything.
Can you give me an example?
So some students shout their social media, some students shout their own business, some students give more advice on uni, some students say, hey, I do this. Some students one student talks about how she wants to do the piano and improve it, or the violin. So it's literally, this is a part where I have no input. This question's unprepared, and you can just say exactly what you want, or you can say nothing. That's also an option too.
Well, I don't have a website, and I'm not that interesting. So what I'd say is, I'm going travel. Like I like traveling, and if you're student, travel, because that's when you that's the only time. Well, like many people do a gap year before they came to uni. This is what I did, but in your first year, in your reading weeks, travel, or yeah. I'm going to Germany in December. There you go. Well, that's not officially planned, but I'm going to the Christmas market in Germany in December, hopefully. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I am plugged in.
Amazing. Thank you.